What's up, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we have a very big video. As of now, Carvana is purchasing ADESA Auto Auctions from Cars Company. This is a major deal. We're going to go over some of the effects it's going to have on regular consumers, as well as the automotive industry, some of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But before I get into that, if you could do me a huge favor and gently squeeze the like button for the YouTube algorithm, it helps me find more amazing people like yourselves that enjoy automotive content. Also, please consider subscribing. We do post 3 times a week, so make sure you click the notification bell. And once again, follow us on Instagram at automotive.life, and let's get into the video. So my phone has been blowing up the last few days, and people keep asking me, is Carvana buying ADESA a good thing or bad thing? So we're gonna go address some of the things now for the public's sake and also for the automotive industry, because this will affect dealers, independent and franchise stores. So let's go ahead and get started off with the deal. Now there's a really great article from Auto Remarketing. I'll leave a link in the description below so you guys can read it. They've done a great job on constantly keeping updated on the actual deal. So as of right now, Car is to sell ADESA in all physical locations, I believe there's 56 of them, to Carvana for $2.2 billion. Now, I'm going to go over why this is going to be a massive deal for Carvana and how it's going to affect the actual market. So as of right now, Cars is selling ADESA, but is supposedly keeping the rest of their companies and staying on as a technology partner. Now, I have a bad feeling that Cars is going to be used and abused and then kicked out when the thing is done, which I'll go into that more here in a little bit later. But as of right now, they're buying $2.2 billion for 56 locations. As of right now, they got a little over $3.2 billion in funding from JP Morris and Citibank to actually put into this deal. Now, the reason I want to go over the $3 billion that they got a loan for was not only are they planning on purchasing this, they're actually planning on keeping the facilities running and actually upgrading them and adding more staff, which is a huge kudos. That's one glad thing that I'm happy about, because one thing that I've seen that Carvana is trying to do is trying to take all the people out of the car business and run it strictly on the internet, where you do need people that are automotive experts to actually help with this, which we're going to go into here in a little bit. But like I said, kudos to them, because they are keeping all 5,400 staff members and also building better facilities and adding more people. So after hearing about this deal, I was actually kind of shocked, because I knew they were going to try to purchase something because they needed to kick that debt can further down the road, because they are not currently making any money. They're actually losing money every year, but they need to get more money from their investors to keep the growth going. So I figured they would acquire somebody and use their type of profits to show gain, so this way they can add it on and, like I said, kick that financial can down the road. So we were guessing they were going to buy something like an automotive group, maybe a Sonic or AutoNation or something like that, to purchase their cars, not only to show the actual profitability of the company and add that to their books, but also to get the infrastructure to show people how to buy and sell and trade cars, because that's one of the big things that they're having problems with. If you guys remember from our last video, Carvana has multiple lawsuits in different states because of these issues, whether loss of titles, multiple temps, bad financing, selling junk cars, all these things keep piling up and up and up. So I thought the smart thing to do was to purchase an automotive group, and this way, like I said, you get their infrastructure. But they actually did something very smart when it came to purchasing ADESA, and I'm going to go over why. Now, before I do, I want to go over some of their numbers. So right now I'm going to put up a screenshot of what they actually made for 2021. So if you go ahead and look at the screenshot, we're going to go over the fourth quarter numbers, and then we're going to go over the full year. So they sold a total in the fourth quarter of 113,000 units, which was an increase of 57%. Their total revenue was $3.7 billion, which was a 105% increase. Total gross per unit, which is a big deal, which I'll go into here in a second, is $4,566, which is an $1,100 increase. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about the annual numbers. As of right now, Carvana sold over 425,000 vehicles, which is huge. That's a large market share, and it's only going to get bigger with this actual purchase. Next one, the revenue this year was a little over $12.8 billion, which is just insane. 129% increase from the year before. Total profits per unit was $4,500, which was about $1,200 increased year over year. Now, the reason why I want to focus on the $4,500 mark, with what they're making per unit per car, is because most independents operate between $1,800 and $2,500 per deal. Now, some go on gross models, some go on volume. It just depends. Same thing with independent stores. Independent stores usually get $5,000 to $6,000 all the time on their cars. It's just something they do. They have the back end money for it. Carvana is going to figure out a way to make themselves more profitable because everything they're doing currently right now is to actually mitigate risk and to increase profitability. So we're gonna go ahead and pull up another screenshot. So now that Carvana purchased those 56 units, which are gonna be auction houses, service centers, as well as new retail stores, that put them in a very strong play. So as of right now, 78% of the United States population is within 100 miles of a Carvana store. That is huge. And last year, I believe, was only about 42% within 100 miles of an actual Carvana store. So they literally doubled their numbers overnight with just this one purchase. Now, if you look at the bottom, you'll see a $750 number. This plays a crucial part because everything that Carvana is doing right now is to help mitigate their risk, which is extremely savvy. I definitely have to give them kudos about that. So one of their biggest risks as a dealer is your recon centers. You know, as of right now, Carvana actually sends all the recons out to third-party companies. Myself used to work on Drive Time and Carvana cars here in Las Vegas. But now that they have these ADESA facilities, they're able to recon the cars at a much more faster pace and a much bigger rate than they ever were before. So this will help keep their costs down low because they're keeping everything in-house. So that's the first cost of saving money. Second cost, they're getting over 400,000 acres of place to store vehicles, house their facilities and everything else. So they're able to have hubs where they didn't normally have them before, but then also lower transportation costs with this partnership with cars. So now they're able to do flat rate shipping all across the United States, which is definitely another thing that's helping them save money. Now, the next thing that they're gonna do is they're actually gonna save money on their actual losses. Now, we're gonna currently make a video about them and the crazy stuff they buy and how they overpay. And we sell them cars all the time, which is pretty hilarious. So you should see the way they actually buy. But this is going to help them when it comes to their loss in their vehicles. What I mean by that is they own ADESA auto auctions now. Anytime they overpay for a car or the car is not as good as what they think, they can go ahead and run it at the auction. They'll probably get the best run numbers because it's them themselves. They can push it up front. And then if you're financing it through, let's say AFC or one of your floor plans, they'll probably give you all the money and then some to rent the cars. They'll be able to lower the price of what they pay for at the auction for the sale, lower their cost of recon, and lower their actual overall risk. So this is probably one of the most brilliant things that I've seen done by Carvana. With these few small things right here, they're able to mitigate the risk substantially and hopefully save millions of dollars a year. Not including that now they're in a much more scalable model. By 2026, they're hoping to do 3 million cars per year, which is huge because now they have the facilities, the storage, and the infrastructure to do it. So if you look at that number that we talked about before, the 750 times 750 cars, or $750, which is their average saving per car, and times that by 3 million. You're already over the $2 billion mark. So whatever they borrowed from the banks, they've already gotten it back within the first year of business of doing this, which is massive. So I don't know if they're probably going to pay off their loan, but still, just the fact of them being able to grow that fast and that quickly, and hopefully as of maybe next year or the year after this, they'll become actual profitable on paper and be able to start paying back investors and other people that invested in the beginning. Because like I said, I honestly believe, and a lot of the industry did, that they were going to go out of business because they were going to run out of money before they became profitable. So we all were guessing that they were going to have to purchase somebody, like I said, to keep that investor money coming, to kick that can further down the road till they can actually figure out a program. And I have to give my hats off to Carvana. I think they did it because with this allocation, it's going to be great. Now, I'm going to go over some of the bad stuff. So the first one is cars. Cars, I believe, is in for a rude awakening. They're probably thinking that, wow, we sold the auction, auctions are dying, everybody's going online, this is great, we have Carvana, feeding our pockets and we're paying off all of our debt, good for us. You guys are gonna get used and abused just like CarMax used and abused banks. What they're going to do and what Carvana is going to do is they're going to take all the information since you're their technology partner and they're going to use it against you. So every time you buy a car, you sell a car, you give them the information from a few of their different companies, which I'll show here in a minute. Little by little, they're going to start using that against you. Now, right now, I'm going to put up a screenshot of what all the cars companies are, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen. So if you look at the screenshot right now, you can see ADESA Auto Auction, which we already know they're purchasing, but the next one that we're going to talk about is AFC. AFC is a line of credit or a flooring company that us dealers use to purchase cars at the auction. I know a lot of independents use it and some franchise stores use it. This is something we use to finance cars. Now keep in mind, Cars was a sister company of AFC, so they didn't care if ADESA was selling cars at, way over book. They didn't matter. It was like money out of the left pocket, money out into the right pocket. Didn't matter. Now that technically Carvana owns ADESA, why should Cars stay in the mix and pay all these overpriced fees and left holding the bag for cars that are being sold at Carvana's auction, which is now ADESA, and them keeping all the money? So I believe that little by little, they're probably going to retract these offerings and not really fund as much as what they're probably going to do. Now, I may be being a conspiracy theorist to think that's going to happen, but I honestly feel like why is Carvana going to want to give you more lines of credit to go against them to purchase cars at their auction? They don't, unless you're purchasing one of their cars, which is crap that didn't pass their inspection, which they're selling back at the auction. So I believe those ones are probably gonna do some sort of special. They're gonna offer maybe like a 90-90-90 where it's 90 days before you make your first payment, something like that. But also, they're gonna be gathering this data from AFC. So they know how long you've had the car, how much you purchased it for, and more than likely, every time they get those bills of sales when you do your audits, they're gonna know how much you sold the car for. So now they're gonna have all the data showing exactly what you're selling for in your market, how fast you've had it, and what the track record is. All this information they're slowly gonna use against you. If you look at some of these other companies, there's not much we're going to talk about, but like backlot cars. A lot of people use backlot in like East Coast and Midwest because that's a good place to purchase cars online. We don't really use that here in the West Coast. If you do, let me know, put it in the comment section below. But I know that people are using that more and more often. All they're going to do is see what cars are selling, what they're buying, and they're just going to shovel all the crap that they don't want onto that actual website and sell it through there. And they're going to know which dealers are buying what and for how much. Now, this is one of the bad things that I think and I honestly believe is going to happen if Carvana is able to purchase ADESA and everything goes through. Well, one, like I said, they're going to be smart about mitigating the risk. But two is, you have to remember, if Manheim, which is Cox Automotive, doesn't own any dealerships, all they care about is the flow of dealerships. So as long as they didn't have a retail store, it didn't feel like they were a monopoly, but they didn't were pushing you out too much. Now think about it, the auction house that you buy cars from now owns one of the biggest dealers in the United States. So what does this mean for independents and franchise stores? Well, guess what? Every time Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Santander, Ally Finance, they get these repos in, they're gonna be like going straight to ADESA, and ADESA's gonna be like, you know what? We don't care, we will give you zero fees just so they can crush Manheim. You gotta run them at our store. And let us buy all the cream puffs and we'll keep all the good stuff and then we'll send all the crap to the auction. Now, in some states, they have to have what's called the 3 competitive rate bids. So this way they can show it if they ever have a type of legality or legal issues when it comes to showing how much they bought the car for. But in some states, they don't have that. So Carvana can purchase all the good cars before they even hit the market, which I don't know if it's going to happen or if that's the way it's going to be, but I'm just thinking outside the box as a dealer and as a business owner, because everybody's thinking, oh, Carvana is going to be great, they're going to grow big, and some franchise stores are not even sweating about it. I have a friend of mine here in Vegas, he thinks it's a joke. It's not a joke when they start lowering the prices, and then they're getting all the great cream puff cars that most franchise stores get, and then they sell all the crap to you guys. It's gonna get very, very hard to get into the market. So we all know that the 2 biggest auctions are Manheim and ADESA. So those are your 2 choices. You can either go to Manheim, pay a bunch of fees, overpay for a car, and most likely it's probably gonna be crap. Or you can go to ADESA where Carvana controls it, tells you what to pay, how much to pay for it, and then all the good stuff they take before you and all you get left is the crap. So not saying that's going to happen, but it feels like that's the way is pushing. Now that's one of the reasons why we started My Vehicle Value, is because we knew that little by little people were going to start buying on different platforms and looking for different ways to actually purchase cars. We were thinking about 2 to 3 years down the road. Now that this happened and Carvana stepped up and purchased this, it's completely changed the game. So I honestly believe that here very soon, people are going to be looking for different ways to purchase cars because, how could you not be tempted to get all the good stuff, keep it for your own facility and sell the crap? It's like every franchise store. If they get a good cream puff trade-in, they keep it and they send the crap to the auction. What's the difference to say that Carvana won't do the same thing when it gets a bunch of repos from different banks? Who knows? But that's some of the things we have to think about as a dealer. So as a consumer, you guys will probably be excited because you'll be able to lower costs. But I still feel like they're gonna have a lot of growing pains and a lot of issues. Instead of hiring a lot more automotive experience and like dealers and franchises, they got a lot of people from behind the scenes that'll mitigate their loss and their risks. I honestly believe that, you know, cutting your overhead with the recon, the storage, and then being able to sell your losses is going to be huge. It's definitely going to pay them massive dividends in the end. But I think they would have been able to probably make their system a little more stable if they bought a few franchise stores or maybe a few dealer groups to build that network, so they have people on the front end that know what they're doing, not just the back end. Because now they do have the facilities to pump out those 3 million cars a year, but do they have the front end operations to keep up with it? That's the big question. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. I've been listening to automotive news radio all week, and not a single person has said that. All they keep talking about is, oh, they can push out 3 million cars. No, they can't. In theory, they can with the back end operations, because now they're buying a proven track system that works, and they have the facilities to pump those vehicles out. But the front end operations are not there. Even with the 400 and something thousand vehicles that they sold last year, I can't remember how many lawsuits, I could be wrong, but there was upwards of 1,100 that we know of. I'm sure there's, as this kind of grows, even from my last video, more and more people are gonna have issues, loss of titles, bad cars. You know, you can look on YouTube, you can watch the videos. They're gonna be having more and more of these issues. So unless they start doing something that can help them on the front end operations, I believe that they're in for a world of hurt. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I think the overall purchase of ADESA Auto Auctions for $2.2 billion is actually brilliant by Carvana, because I believe that Cars left a lot of money on the table. They were probably just thinking of, you know, like I said, auctions are dying, people are going online, and they were able to clear off their books and all their debt and be good to go. But I think when they see that Carvana hopefully winds up making that money in about 2 to 3 years and pays off all their debt, I think they're probably gonna have a sad face. Plus, their long-term, I think, deal that they believe they're gonna have with Carvana is gonna be short-lived once they use them and abuse them and kick them out to the curb. So take this with a grain of salt. Like I said, I don't know everything. I'm just reading what I've came to and give you my conclusions and what I think as a dealer. If you'd like to share anything, please put in the comment section below. If you have any inside information on Carvana, some of the dealers, what your input is on the overall deal, I'd love to hear from it. And once we actually get more information on the deal, once it finalizes at the end of second quarter of this year, we'll go ahead and make a follow-up video. So we'll see you next time.